Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November Alexander Board of Education. If I call the meeting to order, and we'll have roll call, please.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Everybody, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
All right, Will.
All right. Our pond that we use for irrigation down near the bus garage is in need of some significant repair, and we've been looking into that and talking to some people who know better than I about ponds and their structures and all of the things that come with it. We have those folks zooming in tonight. We have Kathy Bobo and we have Amy Boyer. And Amy is lead engineer for the Department of Agriculture, and Kathy is with the Soil and Water Division, I believe. And both, this is their wheelhouse more than mine, so they've been advising us through this. And I thought I'd bring them in, and I appreciate their time. I appreciate both of your time, both of you ladies, and your time tonight, and your expertise. We'll have some questions about the pond, but maybe you can go ahead and give us a little bit of a summary of what you've seen so far, and maybe what direction you could see us heading moving forward. Some of the little nuances that come along with that reconstruction project. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
So I'm Amy Boyer. I'm obviously an engineer with Ohio Department of Agriculture, and I've been out here to visit the pond there with the Soil and Water Office. We came out, about a month or so ago, gave a few recommendations of where we think you're probably best to head and what direction. It's obviously an older pond. It has a lot of uses out there. You did a good job by getting some of the trees and things off that dam, which obviously caused some long-term damage, I think, to the structural integrity of that dam. I know my recommendation to Mark there was to probably do a full reconstruction of that dam, just because of all the roots that will soon be dying in there. We also don't meet the current Ohio dam laws. I know when a lot of these ponds were built, many decades ago, that wasn't a consideration. It is now when we're reconstructing things to be able to put it up to some sort of code for liability reasons. I know pond construction can be very expensive, and I know we discussed, doing a long-term fix versus a short-term fix. I know the long-term fixes are going to be expensive, but typically over time they tend to be a lot cheaper than doing short-term fixes. We have offered our assistance of doing some engineering plans for you to be able to get that thing up to code and to make sure that it be designed correctly, if that is a route that you guys want to go. And we talked about some of the sediment in the bottom of a pond. Obviously, a lot can collect over the decades. I know we kind of went around the edges there this morning, but it's kind of hard to get a good firm number without a little bit more investigation out there. That's probably the big unknown cost. We provide you engineering drawings. You can obviously get some bids, have an exact cost of what it would cost to upgrade this to however we need it to be. And then I think you guys would have to decide what you want to do with the sediment. Do we want to leave the sediment in there as a cost-saving measure, or if we're going to fix it, do we want to fix it right and fix it for the long term and remove all that sediment? Some of that might be an unknown cost a little bit, just because a lot of that's going to depend on how much sediment there is, how wet it is during construction and where we have that we can put that, because it's a very silty, runny material that we just can't pile up in a big pile somewhere. We had talked about maybe trying to find some sort of grant funding. I know we're still looking for that, to what could be available to maybe offset some of the costs to the school. Depending on what type of grant funding maybe we could find is going to dictate a little bit about how we would design it, maybe, just because if a grant has stipulations, we would have to meet some of those possibly, but we have some wiggle room just depending on what we want to do out there. I guess that's a very broad overview.
Go ahead. If you've got questions now, I would ask Amy and Kathy. They'll do their best to answer the question.
Yeah, Blake Regan here. I just had a question. I read the report that you had sent. It seemed, is the concern with the sediment solely to do with the fish, or the fish kill, or is that there are more reasons to get rid of the sediment?
So if we want some additional depth on the pond, obviously that sediment's going to have to be removed. Obviously there's the fish, which I'm not assuming is your highest priority. That I know you guys irrigate out of this pond, so something a little deeper would give us more volume for irrigation, which would obviously be a benefit out there. I guess it depends on how much water you want to be available within that pond.
I think it's probably, we think the pond may be, 10 feet deep in the middle? Is that correct, Amy?
I guess we don't know. We had asked you to look for some engineering plans. Obviously, you weren't able to find them, and that's not uncommon with a pond of that age. A lot of times they didn't keep records of what those are. So I guess we don't exactly know what we have out there.
Roy, you were around when it was built. Do you have a rough idea of how deep it is, or was at the time? No? Okay. And this is Jay Barnes. Just a quick question on the integrity of the dam. It's not a big issue. Excuse me. It's not a grave concern at the moment, but as the roots.
It is not.
Okay,
It
but
is
as the
not.
roots continue to deteriorate, it's
take-
going to be?
It is. The roots are going to take years to break down. Obviously, we discourage people from putting any sort of trees on a dam. When the trees get large, they obviously drink up a lot of water. They put a lot of seepage lines throughout a pond. When you tear them down over the years, they're also those roots are going to rot, and then you're going to have direct pathways for that water to get out as well. And I know, a lot of your trees, I think, have been somewhat recent. When I say recent, anything within the last couple of years. So you are going to start having leaking problems out there. It's obvious just because you had roots from trees on both the upstream and downstream end. And I know you have a couple large trees that are kind of at the toe of the dam downstream as well that I'm thinking are probably problematic. They're trees with some pretty aggressive root systems. We're usually not as worried about, say, the pine trees that are on the upper end or anything. Those aren't invasive or anything. But anything like the willows or maples or oaks, they have really invasive root systems.
Kathy and Amy, this is Josh Collins. Thanks for joining us this evening and helping us out. You mentioned the engineering study being a first step. Is that something that you can ballpark for frame of reference cost, or is that something that's rolled into a grant typically? How does that first step go?
So I guess the first step, if you want engineering plans, we are willing to do those for you. We'd probably start with doing some soil samples out there. We have soil scientists available to us to use. We would just need a backhoe to be able to dig some holes. That way we know what's out there. We'd probably take a soil sample probably on the dam. We might try to take it somewhere. Maybe we can get some borrowed material if we need some additional material. I think the material within your dam, minus the roots, is very good material. You could tell that, that pond hasn't had leaking issues. It was built correctly as far as material-wise, back when it was done, or else you would have had issues a lot sooner than you're having them now. So I'm not really concerned that you have bad material out there. But we would want to verify that just in case. And then we would just move forward with the design, making sure that you had a properly sized emergency and principal spillway, and that everything hydraulically works the way it should. Make sure it meets Ohio dam laws with the right amount of freeboard and everything. And then we would give construction specifications for whoever you hire to build that eventually.
Do you have a rough ballpark of what that typically costs for that engineering phase?
There would be no cost for the engineering phase.
I like that answer. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, you may have a backhoe. You may have a backhoe rental if you don't already have one available to you, or someone isn't willing to donate within the community or whatever. But no, we would do the engineering plans at no charge to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Quick question, as this goes through and you talk about the different ideas, one of the things that's unique about our area is that we have two different higher education buildings near us between Ohio University and Hocking College. Is this something that we could possibly approach? Is this a project that you would believe could be manageable by students if we were to look that direction, try and partner with local higher education to try and get partnerships that way? Is this
I think the student construction crews are wonderful as long as they have a good supervisor there that can assist making sure that people are doing things right. It would probably be a great educational experience for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The things that I'm learning through all of this is it's not as simple as just taking down a dam and building one back up. There are some things that we have to do, especially in the planning processes and all of that with the sediment and what we decide to do with the sediment. Maybe digging I forget what a pit, did you say? To store the sediment or keep the sediment until it fully dries?
We need somewhere, if we're going to remove the sediment, we need somewhere to put it. Obviously, shipping it off-site would become very, very expensive very quickly. Ideally, we have a place to put it on-site. I know that's really tough for you guys because you don't have a big land mass right around there and a very good available place. So I guess that's something we really need to look at and plan for is what are we going to do with that if we remove it.
Yes, and actually, Jay Barnes had just said we've got the 24 acres at the end of the street. We would have to dig a pit for that in that stretch of land to put that in, correct? It couldn't just be piled up.
It could, well, I guess it depends on what the topography looks like. If we could dam up a little area, you wouldn't necessarily have to dig a big pit. You could dig a big pit. I don't know.
Would that be
I'm not
included
saying that you couldn't just spread it on the ground. I guess I would be concerned if we did spread it on the ground, how do we stabilize it? Obviously it needs to be water for a while. And I'm assuming you rent that farm out to producers
Yes.
for cash rent or something. If we put too much of that material on that field, that could affect him being able to get in and farm that next year. And that might not be a route that we want to go. We probably need to further look at if you want to remove sediment is what we're going to do with it, how we're going to get it there. There's a lot of planning, I think, still to do. This isn't something I think you just jump into.
Oh, I would agree. And would that finding a place for the sediment, could that be a part of the engineering the engineering design?
We could. I think, we had talked earlier today about, if we need some additional fill material, is where do we get that? You had mentioned, that field down the road. And we talked about, maybe we try to see if there's any fill material there we can get. If we would take some fill from there and maybe have a bit of a hole, I don't want to say a big pond or anything, but if we had a depression where we took some sediment, maybe that's where we can put some of that dredge material that we would take out too, and just kind of swap materials. I think we want to look a little closer at that, and we probably just need to do some test holes, take a look at the topography, and move on from there. Obviously, I'll take another site visit.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Kathy or Amy? No. Okay. I appreciate your time this evening. I really do, especially on short notice. I will be in touch again, probably here in the next week or two. We'll have a little bit better idea of what's going on, and we'll circle back and see where this leads.
Okay, just let us know if you want us to pursue
Hold on one
in
second.
helping you. And
I have one quick question. If this is something that we want to do, when's the best time of year to do that sort of thing? Is it best to do that in the summertime when it's dry as it can be? And is that what we need to plan for if we do decide to do this? Can you hear me?
I didn't catch
Okay,
that.
no, I'm sorry. So is there a best time of year if we're going to start looking and considering doing this? Is there a time of year that's best? Is it best to do this during the driest part of the year?
So we do not want to do it during the driest time of the year necessarily, because dam is not going to compact
The
well. We
compaction,
obviously
yeah.
want to get that dam well compacted.
Okay,
We also don't want to do it during the wettest time of the year either.
okay. So
And I know
usually
none
a
of us can
spring
predict
sort
the
of thing?
weather. Probably right now would be a wonderful time. We have good weather right now. We're starting to get some precipitation. If it is a dry time of year, we may need to be adding some water to make it compact. Obviously, if it's a really wet time of the year, we're going to have delays in construction, which, we hope not to have too many of those either. I'm not sure there is a perfect time, because I don't think we can predict the weather anymore. I guess one of the things, I know you use that for irrigation. So if we plan on continuing using it irrigation and have no stopping point, it makes sense to do it after you stop doing irrigation for the year. That way we have time to get it reconstructed and hopefully the water fill back up, and then be able to have it for use again for the next season.
All right, I think that's it. Kathy, again, Amy, thank you. I really appreciate both your time and your expertise.
Okay, thank you, and call us whenever you need help.
All right, I will.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
We need to make a motion to move forward with the engineering plans that we're told are at no cost. Okay. I mean, I would make I would make a motion to do that, to move forward with the free engineering plans.
There we go. All right, so we got a first from Aaron. We've got a second from Stephen to move forward with engineering plans. I will reach out to Amy and Kathy and talk to them about that, and we'll get that process started. Yeah. Nope, I don't think so. That's it. Easy one.
Oh, that's okay.
She's also
Hi.
got this up there.
I gave you a handout,
On the
but I
screen.
put it on the screen. I wasn't sure whose back would be to it, so. Okay. This is the November 24 five-year financial forecast. The forecast is a planning tool used to make sound decisions. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce requires schools to file a forecast on their operating account every 6 months, so one in May and one in November. A little summary of the 5 years. This November forecast is projections for fiscal year 25 through 29. These amounts are as of today and what we know now. If you look at the top bar chart, the blue is the projected revenue and the yellow is the projected expenses. This graph shows how our revenue stays flat. The line is the cash balance. You can see it's decreasing significantly. And then the bottom chart shows where we start deficit funding, or deficit spending in starting in 26, next fiscal year. This is if we stay where we are today, don't make any changes. Fiscal year 25. Yes. Yes, from July, started in July. Yep. So the current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 25, fiscal years run July to June. So if you're looking at this, the July 1 beginning cash balance of the 12.3 million is what we started back in July. And then the 3.2 is what we expect to end June 30th, 2025. We're projecting 21.7 million in revenue and 20.8 million in expenses, leaving us with a gain of 900,000 for fiscal year 25. Next slide breaks out the revenue into three categories: local taxes, state funding, and all other. Local taxes include property taxes and income taxes. The income tax collection ends next month, December of 24. Starting in 25, you'll see that we're losing $2 million in revenue from the income tax. State funding is for the Fair School Funding Plan, and that's remaining flat. All of the revenue includes interest, which is nearly half that 1.6. Interest is still doing good. The next slide shows the expense breakout. Breaks out into personnel, which goes to salaries and benefits, purchase services, and then all other. This is where we're a little different than everybody else. We have the school-wide pool, which other schools do not. So our transfers, which are included in all other, I moved and put them up under salaries and benefits where they're paid from, if you look at the school-wide pool fund. So you can see all of it together. So if you compare this on back, it's not going to tie out equally by line. The next one, I'm comparison of the May forecast and the November forecast. The dotted line is the May, and you can see it had possibility of a levy in there, and now we don't. So you can see the difference clearly there. Other changes, just the expenses. It's changing the employment cost of employment has increased, health insurance has increased. We've worked on health insurance since May. We've made significant changes there. Not only the district, but the employees as well. The next slide. This is just kind of a little history of cash on hand, where we was, where we are now.
Cash on hand, the rule of thumb, 90 days? Is that what it,
Yeah, kind of.
Typically 90 days.
Yeah. I'm more comfortable over 100, but
Yeah.
if you look at 28, we're ending in 7 million, and we have 118 days cash there. Our policy is 10%, which is around just a little over 2 million. So we're still at the 78 days. We're still well over that. It's not as comfortable. And then the last slide is all the detail too. There's not a lot.
They've got copies.
Yeah.
You guys have copies of the
Yeah,
last
I don't know.
text, so.
Okay, so this is the detail on it. Once again, that transfer outline, operating transfers of 5 million. That's what we pull out of the general fund, send over to the school-wide pool, then we pay the elementary cost out of there. And then revenue, if you look at the income tax line, you can see how that kind of dwindles down. Under expenses, the capital outlay, that's where we pay for major, larger projects for maintenance and tech and things like that. We have a capital plan that we go by for that. Brian and Mark and Megan all contribute to that, so. Broken that out by year. But those are subject to change. I mean, something could break and Brian might have to move it from 2 years down up to this year, so those expenses fluctuate. That's why we say these amounts are as of today, what we know now. But in FY '25, we end with 13.2 million. I mean, that's a very healthy fund balance. We will continue to mindfully spend and make changes along the way when we see changes that can be made. And those changes will affect these deficit spending going out. I mean, every change we make changes the numbers.
now, just a couple of recent topics that have come up, are asking if they're included in the, the fiscal upkeep and all those other, like you were saying, Brian, we've talked about the roof. The
Yes.
roof was in here.
It has been removed from the number from May because we are now paying it out of the 034 fund,
Okay.
the maintenance bond for the building, so.
And then we also have, we've discussed the pond. Pond is in here? Or
Yes.
Pond is in here?
I've left 150,000 in there, just as a rough estimate.
And I'm trying to think of other recent topics.
No, the pond was not. Okay. But there was 600 for the roof, so I only reduced it by 450.
I think I've covered the big ones in my head.
Yeah.
What is the big difference between May that you gave us, where we were break even in '26, to the new forecast where we're over $1 million negative spending?
Well, that was not May, but the June.
Okay.
After we had done negotiations, the estimates of the potential retirees that we had, I mean, as you can see, I put them in there for 25 and 26. The plan changed, like those things did not happen as of now.
So
So-
what was put in
Look
to those
for-
assumptions that you revised in June? What were those assumptions that did not take place? I'm trying to figure out why now all of a sudden we're $1 million in the hole in fiscal year '26 when we were break even 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And I haven't been able to get a solid understanding of that, looking back at the forecast.
We had 5 teachers that we were saying were retiring. We don't have 5 teachers retiring now. Admin, we had that all being the 3 that are leaving. That was in there as whole numbers. That is not, we're replacing those, so I took those out of November. Didn't feel that was fair to put that in there.
So that wasn't, the replacing the admins were not factored in the revised June numbers?
No. No.
Okay.
All the teachers were put in.
So how many is that?
at
That's two admin, 3?
3.
We had 3.
Okay.
We had 3 admin. Mrs. Douglas, she moved on to the ESC job. Okay, that's not going to be replaced. Paid out her severance.
Yeah, so that's
in
the
that.
change in that.
That still
But
doesn't
the
come
high
up with $1
school,
million
but the high school, and no, that
It's-
doesn't come
no,
up to
we're
$1
still
million.
way off.
The high school and the assistant and the principal, both will be retiring, but both of those positions will need to be filled.
Okay, but then just to be clear, they weren't even added into the expense projections in June? We didn't have those admin positions as an expense? I don't mean to
I
put
don't
you on
know.
the
I don't know
spot,
what
but, I mean, you gave us a projection for fiscal year '26, saying that in June, that we were gonna be break even, and decisions were made on that projection. Now, we're at $1.1 million as a deficit in '26. I'm just trying to politely ask, what the heck happened? And what is the differences in the projections between June and now? I don't know how you could miss $1 million in expenses. I'm having trouble. I'll shut up. Please explain. I'm at a loss.
Okay.
And November's number's gonna change, like those numbers I have in there for 26 in June. It was all of the possibilities. I've only had 3 so far say, so in November, I only put in what I know is gonna happen. I didn't include all the possibility, the list, the big list that we had of, this is gonna be the $700,000 changes in employees. So far, 167,000 of that has come through.
So June was the rosy scenario that we were hoping everyone would retire
Yes.
and leave, and
People
was-
had,
I'd just like to say, that was clearly stated in the meeting on June, that this is everybody leaving, and we would have to replace some of them. But this is what was leaving.
Yes.
And the June meeting, the forecast that was given to me stated, this is everybody leaving, but some of this needs to be replaced. So when that decision was made, it was,
but we're still way over.
I wouldn't say way. I
I'll
would
say
not
it.
say.
I'll
That,
say
that's
it.
fine,
I'll
that's your
say it.
opinion, but it
It
was,
is.
what's that?
What would you consider a way? $1 million is a way.
Oh, it's not $1 million. You're talking about the $750,000 that was taken off by retirements that some people assumed was just off, when it was clearly communicated that not all of these can be thrown away.
Well, it wasn't clearly, otherwise we would all know about it.
Some people like to listen.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
That's fine.
okay.
Yeah,
The-
not to bring up, just, I'd say we're used to getting projections that they don't, nothing is solid and written down until they know it happens. I mean, we've had in the past very conservative estimates, so until someone actually sent in their retirement, it was never factored in to the budget until we knew for sure, concrete.
And that's what I put in the November.
That's November.
What I
Okay.
put in the May one, what we knew then. And then June, We wanted to see, with all the changes of everything happening, what the potential changes were gonna be. That was then.
Okay.
Help me understand, Kim, so I'm just trying to follow everything that's been said, there's a lot. So in June, there were 5 teachers that so did those teachers come to you and say, we're going to retire? How did we get to those 5 teachers, I guess, to begin with?
They, go ahead.
I was gonna say they had the ability to
They
retire.
had the ability to, but
Yes, and
nobody,
this is-
nobody indicated, hey, I'm going to retire.
And this is part of what we had talked about in how we were going to reduce our spending was through attrition. And so attrition is more voluntary than direct. If the board says you're going to eliminate $400,000, okay, that's different than we suspect that this person, this person, this person, and this person are going to retire. That's going to save us $400,000. And when all of those things don't happen, then that changes. And so when you work through the process with attrition, it's not as direct. It's much more subjective because you have choice, and people sometimes make different choices.
Okay, and so if I follow you correctly, 2 of those teachers are going to retire, correct?
As of now, I have
Okay.
letters from 3,
So-
but 2 we are replacing, so,
So you have letters from 3, we're replacing 2, so it's a net 1 teacher,
yes.
correct? Okay.
I mean,
So
at
out of
this-
the 5 teachers, basically, we're keeping 4 of them.
We are trying to cut back on those, and we've had our conversations with our administration about not replacing teachers who are leaving.
Okay.
We still have time to figure that out. That's why we had the conversation in November.
Yeah.
That gives us time to make those changes.
But the
to
numbers you
build the
have on
schedules
here,
without.
we're keeping 4 of those.
Yes.
With the numbers
I
you
mean,
got in November, it's
They're-
showing we're keeping
they're
4 of
built
those
in.
that of the
Yeah.
5 that we thought we were gonna not keep, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other part of that is, I guess that's confusing to me as well. We talked about admin and the 2 administrators. In June, you were planning on those administrators not being rehired in those positions? I guess that, I don't understand that, because you'd have to have a
Right.
principal at the high school.
Yes. It should have been netted out in the June one, and I did not.
It didn't. So
No,
in
the-
June,
In
those,
the June one, they're in there as they were out.
okay, so those 2 administrators were not there. It was just a mistake.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that helps me understand. Thank you.
In the June numbers, Kim, I think this is correct, that the break-even point did not include the levy. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Well, when you look at the numbers, I was looking at this June, and it looks like, when you look at the income tax, you have the same fall off that you have when you start looking at the November forecast, so I think it was. Because if you go to the income tax on the June, there's the same fall off on income tax as you see in the November forecast.
Which one are you looking at, Aaron?
So,
Sorry. in-
yeah,
in
no, I
June-
got you.
in
I'm
June,
looking
which
at the
line?
June, at the June paperwork,
Mhm.
the June forecast.
Yep.
And if I look at the income tax, it would be item 1.030.
Okay.
If you go over to 26, 27, and 28, and you compare that to the November, the same.
But what I was asking is to make sure that on that June one, down in line 11, if you go clear down towards the bottom of the page, there is the renewal levy line. And I wanted to make sure those numbers, which would indicate that we do have a renewal in that, making sure that they did not count into that. So I'm agreeing with you, it has the same change. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure those numbers clear down at the bottom were not rolling in there.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, Kim, on this rainbow chart, the difference between the dashed line and the solid line, so May to current, is that 100% levy, or how much is that?
Yeah, that's levy.
That's levy. So did insurance change anything in here from our
That's
projections in
revenue.
June? Ah,
Insurance would be
thank you.
expense.
Yes, correct. Okay, I got you. But then beyond that then, so coming from May to June in our, or May to November in our forecast, were the insurance numbers any different than what we had projected in May or June compared to now? Or did they hold pretty true?
Fairly the same.
Okay.
So Kim, and not asking for exact numbers, but for teachers, $500,000?
They're
I'm just trying to think what that would be,
It would depend if they take benefits, but
I mean,
I'd
on
say
average.
400.
these were salaries.
on average, and then you add the two
They were-
administrators back into that,
There was three.
we're at what, basically?
So there's
give or
3
take.
administrators adding up to 299,000.
But on this, it would be the two administrators, right? Because Lindy's
Right.
wouldn't be added back in. So I'm just trying to think, when we start looking at this 900 and almost $1 million, I'm just trying to figure out where that money's at. And it looks like, okay, if you add 4 teachers, we're at 400, and then 2 administrators, 600, so we're still missing $400,000 basically. That's why I'm trying to figure out, okay, so where's that money at?
So the benefits went up 260 grand
Okay,
from June to November.
okay.
I mean, and that could be anything, I don't know what it is, but the benefit change from June to November was 260,000. And that could have been, I'm guessing based off of what you said, it probably would be additional people.
Yes.
And-
And the
and
changes we
they're-
made to the contribution that the board's giving them.
Yep.
Mhm. We raised that.
What, are we gonna see any, savings on the insurance premiums?
Hmm?
Should be in that benefit number. I mean, yes, we're giving them more in the form of an HSA payment, but
Yes.
we
also
save
should be
significantly by changing
Yeah.
This is
to that
just
plan.
benefits.
right.
We-
So the insurance premium savings should offset the amount that we're paying for their HSA. But the benefit number still went up significantly.
Yeah, there's, it's gonna be split.
Is that because of additional people?
It's changes in the, I mean, there's a few additional, but it's the changes in the plans.
But we also have people leave.
Yeah, we had people add for, that we weren't counting that on.
I don't have the numbers as how many came and went. We can find that.
Can you get me a report that will show me the dollar amounts and where exactly it went between June and November?
I will try.
The differences in the budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to
I
understand.
mean, we're trying to do it
because-
mentally here, but I guess that'd be the easiest thing to do is just say, let us know show us line by line what the changes are.
Yeah.
Did you get the email I sent with the changes on the salaries? Should the line by line of the June to,
I don't know.
okay.
I feel like I've just been looking through so much of this stuff. I don't know
I
exactly if I got
agree.
the report that you're talking about.
Okay.
But if we
I
have that
understand.
somewhere, just show me where it is so I can understand, I guess we thought we were gonna have X amount of teachers, we have this amount of teachers. We thought we're gonna have this amount of administrators, we have this amount. And then we can see how those dollars add up to that difference, because it's a huge difference. And I'm with Jay. When I had those numbers in June, I was making those decisions based upon those numbers, because I thought for all intents and purposes, that's what the numbers were, not that we were hoping that's what the numbers would be. I didn't realize it was, I mean, I guess, to me, it's almost like I look at these two and I say, okay, so are these numbers what we're hoping they are, or is this what they're going to be over the next couple years? Does that make sense?
The November ones are what I know as of today. Like, I didn't put any assumptions in there. The June one had the list of possibilities that we were talking about. These are the people that we think are gonna retire. These are the people that I put in there.
Okay.
Those things did not happen, so therefore I took them out for November. They could happen before May comes. They could still turn in a retirement letter and we could change those numbers again.
Okay.
But today, I only have those 3 letters. So
Okay.
I took everything else
Sure.
out.
To answer your question, Aaron, I think on her email, I think the difference was about $600,000 in salaries for the different levels. I put it to, I just added it up real quick, and I thought I added it up earlier. I just wanted to verify. I think it's 600, just to answer your question.
And that would be the teachers and the administrators?
Yeah, there was 3
And then there's
sheets.
classified too.
Yeah, classified teachers and.
But that would be all the salaries. So when I'm looking at this and I'm saying $400 for, or $500 for the teachers, and another couple hundred for the administrators, that kind of gets us in that same,
Yep.
that same place.
Yep.
And then is the other 300,000 partially what you were talking about there with employee benefit? Or is that,
So it's tough to say because it's going to be crossed, I'm assuming. I don't want to speak for you because that 500,000, that 400,000 number you gave was an all-in number. So some of that's going to be personnel services, which is going to be salary, and some of it's going to be benefits. I don't want to speak.
No, you're
I
good.
think that's right. So it's going to be crossed, so it's kind of hard to break out exactly what the difference is. So I'm going to skip real quick. The capital outlay went up 340 from the May forecast. It was 447 and it's 790. I know we said we took the roof out.
Yeah, we took it out at 25. We had to move some ovens around, and we added to the block, the ceiling of the block in the parking lot,
Okay.
and it got shifted around, so every
So it was more of a
forecast,
shift
me
from
and Brian
25
look
to
them.
26?
Yeah,
Okay.
and kind of shift that around to try to keep it fairly even.
Yep.
Any more questions? Kim, you got any more to present?
No?
Everybody good? Okay. All right, public participation on agenda items. Do we have any public participation? No? All right, treasurer's recommendations. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the minutes of the October 9th, 2024 regular meeting.
Seconded.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen? Aaron?
yes,
Blake?
Yes.
B, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the financial statements for the month ending October 31st, 2024.
Moved.
Seconded.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
yes,
Blake?
Yes.
C, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the following transfers, and this is just the normal transfers to the school-wide pool fund.
So moved.
Second.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
yes,
Blake?
Yes.
D, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the after-the-fact invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
yes,
Blake?
Yes.
E, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the November 2024 five-year forecast.
Can I ask a question before we go forward?
Sure.
What are our requirements for tonight? Simply out of the different questions that we have, I'm wondering how to remedy some of them, close the gaps. Does it need to be approved tonight?
It has to be approved before, it has to be filed by November 30th.
Okay.
So no, we didn't.
But we have to approve it before you file it.
Yeah,
Okay. So if we don't approve,
we have to have another.
we'll have to have another meeting to approve it before she can file on the 30th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Second.
Jay?
So we have to approve it, or we come back and approve it later. I'll put you on the spot, and if we come back later, are the numbers gonna be the same?
For November, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Under superintendent's recommendations, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the following substitute paraprofessional and teachers as recommended by the Athens Megs ESC superintendent.
So moved.
Second?
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
I'll abstain.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education rescind the supplemental contract for Mike Fetty, JV softball coach for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Seconded.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yep.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
C, it's recommended the Board of Education accept the resignation of Mark Klein Jr., high school head track coach for 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second?
Jay?
Yes.
Stephen? Or Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
D, it's recommended the Board of Education employ Stephanie Preston, 3-hour cook 1, effective October 21st, 2024, pending her meeting all state and local requirements.
So moved.
Second?
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
E, it's recommended the Board of Education employ the following supplementals for the 24-25 school year, pending their meeting all state and local requirements and the constitution of a complete team for the season.
So moved.
Second.
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
F, it's recommended the Board of Education grant a continuing contract to Alex Wilcoxon.
So moved.
Second?
Jay?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
G, it's recommended the Board of Education accept the letters of retirement resignation from the following, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. Mr. Kearns and Mr. Sloan.
So moved.
Second?
Jay?
Yes, and thank you both for all your years of dedication to Alexander.
Josh?
Thank you. And yes.
Stephen?
Thank you. Yes, and just a quick question. Do we have these as rehires right now in the forecast, or are they out, or?
One is out and one is
One and one?
still there.
Yes.
Blake?
Me or Aaron?
Oh, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Blake?
Yes, and thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's recommended the Board of Education adopt the enclosed resolution authorizing Meta to issue a request for proposal for the purchase of competitive retail electric service.
So moved.
Seconded.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following policies for inclusion into the Policies and Procedures Manual as recommended by OSBA.
So moved.
Second.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Okay, business initiated by board members. Aaron, you want to repeat your motion?
I make a motion that we pursue having the engineering plans made for the pond.
Second.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Board reports, none. Public participation for non-agenda items. Okay. We don't need an executive session tonight, right? Okay.
Nope, I didn't have anything.
Okay, so it was just a placeholder, but no executive session. So that brings us to our next regular scheduled meeting is Wednesday, December 11th, here at 7. Is everybody good with the 11th? Okay. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Jay,
Yes.
Josh,
Yep.
Stephen,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Blake.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.